everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield. I'm a professional dancer, professional dance choreographer, and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States, and we are taking a look at all of the mega crews from Street Man Fighter. I know so many people have been waiting for this particular portion of the season for me to take a look at. I cannot wait to take a look at these as well. I have them put in the order of their scoring, so regardless of the order in which you choose to watch these, I know I did start with YGX and I finished with Just Jerk, and I'm going to be approaching my feedback accordingly based on the lineup. On top of that, I also did my best to try to figure out what the criteria was so I can tailor my feedback towards that. But once again, know that my job scope and my perspective is not based on the competition reality TV side of dance shows. It is more on the competition side, where there is rules and regulations and very specific things you have to follow. So please take some of my analysis or feedback with that level of grace, or if I do approach or say something that may feel out of pocket, that it could just be because I'm looking at it from a lens that I'm normally used to looking at mega crews. So I really hope that you guys enjoy these, and I hope they're beneficial, and we're gonna go ahead and get into them.
스트릿 맨파이터 메가 크루 미션. 여러분의 좋아요로 YGX를 응원해 주세요.
Now I know the criteria. They have 3 directors, hidden card dancers. Super fun. Here we go.
It's our turn. YGX.
Okay, I know that they had to pick a costume and they had to make a concept around the costume. I know that. This is fun.
I don't do the most, but I do a lot. I'ma make a toast, cause we still alive. No big, I feel like Pac. I shoot a shot. I'm coming in hot.
Okay, very clean start. Hey.
Yeah, coming in. Wake 'em up, wake 'em up, wake 'em up, wake 'em up. See, I'm still sleeping, so I had to shake 'em up. I kept it too real. I wasn't faking up. My real life was
I will say there's a lot of unison that we're seeing here. A little bit messy in the back corner. Woo, okay. Great mashup. Oh, nice. Hey. They are playing, they're not. So I do like the formation that they did. I like the peel out. That was clean. That was fun. Oh, that was cool. Whoa.
One, two, one, two. This the I'm a Boss remix.
Okay.
Let's go. Turn it to an M. Used to ride in Impala. Turn it to a.
Hey.
Turn it to my friends. You should see how people treat you when they come in.
Okay, so they did whacking there to get matched the aesthetic of the track. I don't know. We're gonna take a look at it later though. Love it. Nice clean technique out of the back with a head spin. Yeah. Yep.
It's going down. Yeah, the kid that with my motherfucking crowd. Hey. You a boss. 757 showers on it. Spend about 13 hours on it. 757 with the showers on it.
Okay.
We spent about 13.
Okay. Let's go ahead and let's look through here. From the forefront, I would say it's fairly clean. I think that was, it was pretty, I would say it was pretty decent. I do know that, I will say I am reacting in the order of their standing from the lowest score to the highest score, but I do not know the point discrepancies or what makes up their score. So it could be a mix of popularity, judges' votes, this, that, or the other. So I do know that they score the lowest, but I'm not gonna let that, I'm gonna try to not let that affect how I view it feedback-wise, because I normally don't, because it's about the criteria. Now the criteria is, utilizing your costume, because I don't think they got to pick it based on just what I looked up on it. I like the setup. This is cute. It's fun. They're setting it up like it's a basketball game. I think it's super fun. I even like, you know, how they got into it. It finished here. Super fun. Threw it up. I will say a lot of this, I love the fact that they set up the scene really well. So I think it's fun that you have your people back here watching what's going on. But whenever you're doing something like we're creating and setting a scene of a basketball game, it's important to know, like, if you're dealing with the basketball, where do you want it to go? And so far, I think that very beginning, they were probably looking like, where is this ball? And then it came over to the side, which was nice. But do I think that is he trying to catch it? I think it's a little thing like that. I wonder if it hit him in the face, is I'm assuming what happened there. Yeah. Yeah, and I will also say this too. I'm normally used to watching Mega Cruise as a fixed point where there's no cameraography or anything. So with this though, so it is hard to know what imagery they're trying to go off of in formations. But we'll do the best with what we have here. So I will say I do like it. It's simple from the start, but you know, because it's pretty long, there's really no issue with that unless that's all you choose to do. Like your movement isn't more complex. You don't elevate it in any way to match your music, or your music doesn't take it anywhere. So they're doing, I mean, he did more like a triggering effect here where he was here in the center and then you had everybody branch out and respond based on the bass. I think it was great. Okay, I see what they were also going for there with the boom boom. I don't think it was as cleanly executed here because it wasn't clear which people were going on which tick of his rotation. So they are choosing to utilize this arm a little bit. I'm seeing it often, so I think that's just kind of a little warning that I'm giving that we're seeing it. But now we're still here. We're about 30-ish seconds in, and we're still doing unison choreo with just the basic choices of branching out, doing mirroring or framing. And here, my not a concern is, you know, this formation, we've been hanging out in it for a little bit. Of course, we did kind of our groupings, right? But you still have to factor in, like, there's some spacing concerns. I know there was a little pocket of people that weren't on the same page back there. Just whenever you do unison choreo at all, you have to make sure everybody's on the same page in range, stability, timing, the whole shebang, especially if you're all wearing the same thing as well. Yeah, so all they're doing right now so far, and we're at this about a minute 10 in, but I know about 15 seconds of that was the intro. We're not really giving much more than unison. And at a certain point, if your content is not helping justify the usage of the unison, or your dynamics are not helping in that, it gets really hard to keep people's attention, and that can lower your score. Yeah, I mean, I like the camera work here, which is nice, but that there's this arm again. I think this is one of their basic go-to moves to kind of show their levels. This is the first time I'm also seeing more of a tiered level system, and that's something that is nice to have, is you want to be mindful of your floor, your kneeling, your midline, your standing, and your elevation, your jumps of some kind, your lifts. So it is nice that they are trying to make some choices with the upper to try to kind of make it a little bit more tiered, but this is the first time I'm seeing that outside of the prop setup and the staging. Also note, this is still more of a pointed formation, so we're not really hanging out or figuring out more creative formations outside of just this V. It's just smaller, and it still just looks like it's a combo. The more unison you have, the more people are going to analyze your content, and if it's not difficult, I would call this more intermediate in interpretation with your musicality. I like the peel out. That's really nice. Boom, boom, boom. And I know they're probably coming up with the concept as basketball, and they're just doing a couple imageries within that. The the mashup, I like the mashup, but for the concept that they're going for, which is the basketball theme, I don't quite know if it's translating as effectively as they want it to be, you know. But also note too, there's some songs that are in Korean. There could be wordplay that's being involved. I am factoring that in here. When you look at my center, I know he was one of our dancers. I'm assuming he's a featured dancer. I really loved what he did, but as he finished, he did come up, and he is no longer in the center, and you can see him basket running away. You guys know how sensitive I am to basket runs, and every time I see one, oh, there he is, there he goes. Hi. And I do know that Mana Queen from season 2 of Street Woman Fighter also, that was a note that the fight judges mentioned of, we see your dancers who are doing basket runs, and it's just not as an effective way. It's a lost opportunity to utilize that dancer, get them going off stage. But also when you notice, YGX is not really utilizing a ton of formations still. You still have your basic point, your basic V with your 2 lifts happening, and then your feature here. So, I mean, I really feel that it feels like they follow directions and they did kind of like a textbook average execution of it. And I'm not saying the dancing is bad. Please do not take my verbiage as this is not a good run. I'm just saying that this is not as, I can understand why this may not have been as competitive as other crews, but this is my first crew I'm watching at this point in time. So, what he does over here, this does remind me of, what was it, Prime King's group battle against B2B, and they did something similar like that. And how he hits it, and he goes back. I think that's fun, but also take note though, I could see the people grab him down. So it's like little details when you direct. Camera work can really work for you or work against you. If it works against you, it's gonna show all of the magic behind the magic tricks, right? You know, and that's really unfortunate, especially if they couldn't control the camera work. I like the peel out here, doing the kind of ball change, but when you notice their diagonals weren't quite as very clear. It wasn't established. And then you have a nice group that comes back out. Now what they did technique wise is they did this. So I think they were trying to go for a vibration effect, but what we see this is more of a jerking. This isn't actually fundamentally related to anything. Now also note too, they're not sitting here trying to justify styles. I think that's the different challenge Muse of Street Man Fighter. I think that's what that challenge is justifying the style that you're given with your muses. But here it's a displaying, making your costume make sense, I would assume, match your music, be clean, have creative elements. You know, you want to make sure you're utilizing a lot of fun formations and transitions and levels and staging. Like, you want to make it entertaining, captivating, but also it needs to be readable and it needs to be concise. It needs to be well-rounded, pretty much, right? So when you look here, do I think this screams well-rounded? It does not, but it doesn't mean it is bad. I just, if everybody has this quality or higher, of course, somebody has to be last, right? You know? So here, it is nice that they're creating more complexity within this. But notice that they're taking more of a feminine approach here with this style, and they're hitting that My big note though, however, is because I don't think they were able to change their costume, I will look at the other crews to see if everyone just had to commit to whatever costume they were given. That's just what I read up on. You can see my Street Man Fighter Wikipedia is pulled up just to make sure I'm on the same page with what I'm looking at. Whenever you're doing, this is when costuming does affect the overall aesthetic of what you can bring to the table. So whenever somebody's in a basketball uniform, you do not think whacking, you do not think Vogue, you do not think the femme styles, because the femme styles, that's not a part of the culture of that. It's more affiliated with other aspects of culture. Like I know basketball jerseys were affiliated with West Coast hip hop rappers. I know some of them got certain jerseys, basketball, hockey as well. That's why some jerseys are really related to the hip hop the hip hop environment is because it's affiliated with certain schools or colleges during the eras and just the history that was made at that time. So with basketball jerseys, I would equate it more towards that, because remember, a lot of street styles originated in America. So a lot of the costuming may be tailored towards that, unless the concept that you're bringing, you know, is basketball, I believe, is an American sport, right? So it's it's just little things like that. And I just feel that with this section, the reason why it may not read as effectively, it is clean, but the style does not match the attire, and that may not be their fault. It doesn't match the music either. They are making really good attempts, and this could be an attempt of them trying to be creative as well, with trying to hit certain timbres that you normally wouldn't explore when you do whacking or when you do more of a fen style. But I think it's unfortunate. I think that section may have worked against them for this set in particular. But I like the fact that they tried it. This was a really cool setup with the jump through. That was pretty creative, how they held out. That was cool with the dive through. But something, whenever you do these types of things, you want to be mindful of, you want to make it look seamless, like it requires zero effort, which they were able to get up super fine and super great here. I love it. And you have your breakers here. I love it. I love this section right here. Very clean. Whenever they had two people going together, they were clean. Even if they were in different directions, the actual technical execution was, the timing was right. And I think that's why those were totally okay if they were facing different directions. I love that. So now he's back up at the top. They're finishing up. Yeah. Now we're back to unison. It is nice to be able to see the numbers. Now I do know, I believe all of the mega crews met the number requirements, so I don't think there was an issue there. Jam Republic, we know from the second season of Street Woman Fighter, did not meet the requirement, but what's nice is they had other aspects that made up for the deduction they received, to where they were able to pull out the win, which I'm always very happy to do. I never really like it whenever crews are left with circumstances to where they're operating at a huge disadvantage and they automatically receive a deduction for such. And it's unavoidable in these types of shows. Remember, you know, it's TV. At the end of the day, this isn't an accredited competition. Does that make sense? It's a TV competition, so it's very different. There's so much back end stuff that goes on, so you can't approach it the same way as you approach a World of Dance or an HHI or a Body Rock or a Vibe or any of those competitions. You just can't, you know, and that's okay. Whenever you're here, just kind of taking a look. I mean, their formations are pretty good. I mean, you have my three right here, not quite in line directionally with my other guys. There's just little small discrepancies here, and it really starts to look undefined right in this section. It's not clear where all of my dancers right there go, but I do see they were trying to go for something, and it's really hard when you have a lot of numbers to be able to get that squared away. I'm assuming he needed to move up just a little bit. He was providing the back end there. This needed to be more refined because it wasn't quite, it's just these two guys were a little, you see all my markings. We gotta let it, okay. It appears that these couplings right here, it's just not clear with what they were trying to do in this formation, I think is my goal. I think right there, right? And then, yeah, that's what I need to see. That's my point. There it is. Yep, and you just know that it's just not even on both sides. And symmetry plays a huge role whenever you have an aerial shot with everybody on stage. But it got really nice and crisp. I really like this. This is cool. But notice that they're really just making this kind of fist overhead choice a lot. And I mentioned it from the very first section. Yeah. Yeah. Once again, so I would say they really did not help themselves by not varying up the dynamics or the mirroring or all of that. They just used those as little surprises. They didn't use it as a functionality throughout their entire routine, and I think that really affected the overall aesthetic of it. It's a mega crew, but it's a very average, I would consider this an average mega crew performance, which whenever you're at a competition and the competition is average to above average to possibly superior potentially, that's, you know, sometimes that may not be the best. But I like that ending with they push them down and they're all ending on the floor and you have your members. I mean, I really like that. Spotlight there was super cool as well. But it makes sense. I makes sense why this probably wasn't the winning one. But what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make my little list here. I put YGX, they're kind of my baseline, and then from there I'll either put people above or below accordingly. Thank you guys so much for watching. What a rodeo, man. Am I right? I think this is just fabulous. I loved all of the crews. It's wonderful that I had the opportunity to take a look at all of them, and I definitely look forward to the discussions on all of them too. Please note that I absolutely love watching dances, and I love being able to provide feedback or ways that every crew I think could have enhanced or done their stuff better. But I don't want anything that I say to discredit the fact that the turnaround time, the number of people they had to work with, the mental state that they were in with the pressure of the competition, and just the workload that comes with these types of things is second to none, and I have so much respect for them, and I cannot be any more proud to be in this position, to just be able to just share joy of what I love about these types of things. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the other challenges with these groups. It's gonna be awesome. I will catch you on the flip side. Bye guys.